Speaker. I rise on behalf of New Zealand First for this Crimes, Theft by an Employer Amendment Bill. There's nothing I've found in this House like employment relations to open up the old fractures between Labor and National and the parties to the left and the right of them. This is the old battle between Capital and Labor, and they are the proxy wars that have gone on in this House probably for close to 100 years between those two parties. This is where New Zealand First brings real value to these debates. We see ourselves as Switzerland. We believe it is the government's role to be a referee. We do believe, and our voting record over time we do believe quite strongly in flexibility in the labour market. We have fought really hard over time for the 90-day trials and supported Minister Veld in this Parliament, and when we were in coalition with Labor, we fought really hard to keep those 90-day trials for businesses under 20 employees. We also supported, recently around the process of supporting the excesses around the PGs, the personal grievances, and try to bring that back into some balance. At our core, our values are that we are an egalitarian party. We believe in fairness, that a fair day's work deserves a fair day's pay. We have consistently championed for rises in the minimum wage when we've had the opportunity to be in coalition negotiations, including in this Parliament as well, although I must admit it's a bit easy when you're in coalition with Labor. They've been a bit more meaningful, but at the very least, the very lowest bar that you should be clearing here is that you should be paid, and you should pay if you're an employer. We have evidence this wage theft and exploitation does happen in this country, and it's not something that we should be proud of, but that's why other jurisdictions also have brought in laws to address this issue. And we know the original proponent of the bill, who is great to see him here, Abraham Amir, was a victim of such a crime himself. Just a history of our involvement for those that may be tuning in for the first time. We were not in the House during the first reading of the bill. It was in those dark days when New Zealand First wasn't represented in this House in the 53rd Parliament. And we were not represented on the Select Committee. We only had the first opportunity to engage with the bill, Madam Speaker, during the second reading. We did vote it through to the Committee of the Whole House stage, but we did share some of the concerns of our colleagues on this side of the House that it wasn't tight or strong enough to protect employers that may have genuine cash flow issues or genuine reasons why they might not have been able to make payroll. And so we worked diligently and through an amendment through my colleague Casey Costello in that Committee of the Whole House stage to get this bill into a state that we felt we could further consider it. In terms of what we're being asked to do, fundamentally, Camilla Bellich, the proponent of this bill, was asking us two key questions. Why do migrant workers here on work visas have the protection of a criminal process when New Zealand citizens and permanent residents do not have that same legal recourse? And why is it a crime for employees to steal from employers and the reverse does not apply? Questions for which New Zealand First has yet to hear compelling answers. That is why we will be using our key swing votes to assist this bill into law. This bill will not criminalise the 99.9% of good, honest employers. All they have to do is continue to do what they do now, pay their wages and their contractual obligations to their employees. But this bill will punish unscrupulous employees that seek to exploit the time and the labour of often vulnerable New Zealanders. Now let's be honest here, most of these are recent immigrants. many of whom come to this country for a better life, often with English as a second language, often from countries that do not have the same strong labour protections as we do. So it speaks to our values, I think, that we would want to protect these vulnerable workers. And why do they not have, they often do not have the means or the knowledge to go down the civil pathway that is being referenced by colleagues on this side of the House. The other point is that this is a deterrence factor. We are a law and order party. There should be consequences for a crime. We fundamentally believe that, and this bill does provide that deterrence factor. I would like to commend my colleague Casey Costello. We did, as I said, we did have some concerns about this bill when we kicked it around a little bit, and Casey moved the amendment for part 2. But Casey brought a depth of experience to this issue. She had been a trustee of the Migrant Exploitation Relief Foundation prior to coming into Parliament and had represented vulnerable workers. She was also Vice President of the Police Association under Greg O'Connor, I might say. I'm not sure how Greg managed to get in above Casey, but that's a question for the Police Association. But she has represented the police workforce, of course, the police union, essentially. And of course, with 14 years active service in the New Zealand Police, knew the realities and was able to ground truth how the police may interact with this bill and how we could make it clearer for them. So I'd like to thank Casey for that work. But the real congratulations here are to Camilla Bellich, of course. This is a substantive legislative achievement, Camilla. The private members' bills, there's a continuum there or a range, but this is at the substantive end of those bills, I think. So I congratulate you. Thank you very much for your constructive engagement on this bill. I think you and your team, there was almost a mini select committee going on as we thrashed this out, and you're always open-minded to sensible changes. But the real, I guess, hero here today is Ibrahim Amir. I only got the chance to meet you during the dinner break. Your experience was pivotal to this bill. And we talk a lot in this House, and every time you're asked as a politician, why do you want to be a politician? Well, it's to make a difference. And I don't know where your political career will lead you in the future, Ibrahim, but you have made a difference today. It was your experience, and putting that in the biscuit tin, it was an example of Parliament working at its finest. So without further ado, Madam Chair, I commend this bill to the House.